I was listening to a clip the other day from this guy named Jordan Peterson. I'm sure you guys know who he is. He's a psychologist. He was a professor, and it was just a random thing. He was like, I would hope that in your college career, you run into at least one or two mentors. And I was like, wait a minute. Don't you take like 6 classes a semester? 5 classes, 3 if you're lazy. So isn't that 6 different professors? And you're telling me that in the span of 4 years, you might run into one? And you're paying $30,000 a semester? Isn't the whole point of college to get that experience? Oh, no. The point of college is to party. Oh yeah, I forgot. The point of college is just to make your parents proud. It's just so they have an alumni sticker on their car, or maybe to follow the family legacy of every other person who went to that college when college was actually valuable. Maybe that's what college is for. It's not actually to build intimate relationships with mentors and peers and grow your network. Check 1 2. What's going on? Welcome to the Hustle Culture Podcast. This is episode number 7. We're 7 episodes deep. 6 all guest-based podcast episodes. I recommend you go and watch it right now if you haven't. If you have, I hope you enjoyed those. This is going to be the first, like I said, solo episode. So it's just me talking to you guys about everything. Look, if you're new, I don't want you to subscribe yet. I want you to listen to this. Go back, maybe click on some clips that we've posted. Maybe listen to a few other podcast episodes with some guests. Where that's more of our natural place. I like having conversations with people that bring value to me and to you guys, to the audience, about business, about having a dream and following it. It's very simple. I'm not a business guru, okay? I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I am. I'm a 22-year-old guy who has been through some stuff and has learned along the way. And that's really why I haven't really done a solo episode yet. I like talking to other people about their experience who have had more experience. But hey, I've been through some stuff too. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about my life, kind of how I got into business, how I started my advertising agency. You might hear my dog, her little paws clicking and clacking. Maybe not though, because I'm pretty good at this audition thing where I can denoise the background. She's kind of sniffing the tripod. Stella, go to your place. Go. But anyways, yeah, it's going to be a good episode. Again, I'll say this. I don't think I've said it yet. If you're on YouTube right now, go ahead and subscribe. Seems like 96% of our subscribers or something like that, I saw it the other day, aren't subscribed at all. So just go ahead. It takes 2 seconds. You click it. You get good value, good information all the time. It's great. It's a great deal. And it's free. It might not be forever. So go ahead and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, go ahead and follow us on Spotify. That way you can see every time we upload a new episode. But yeah, like I said, this is going to be a different vibe. It's going to be more chill. We're going to talk about different topics. I'm sipping on some good blonde Starbucks Veranda roast. I think that's what it's called. If you're drinking coffee or working or doing something, go ahead and comment down below what your favorite coffee is. I'm curious. I'm a coffee lover. Okay. But yeah, today I want to talk about some stuff. I got my notes right here. It's not a lot. I don't expect this to be as long as my guest-based podcasts are. But it is going to be fun, and I hope you guys get some value out of everything I have to say. I will say, if you're a younger guy, a younger girl, a younger in your teens, later teens, you don't know what to do. Maybe you just graduated high school. This might be a good episode for you. We're going to dive into some other stuff later, but just with my story, I feel like I can affect the youth a little more than my older friends who have already established kind of a business. Maybe you're just interested in me and just kind of what I have to say about some stuff, mainly the educational system, which is what we're going to talk about today. So again, because of my podcast being so guest-based, I haven't really talked about myself. So I wanted to take an episode and just brief everybody. That way, in the future, I can point you guys to this episode to get to know me. But basically, my name is Tagliaferro. I own my own advertising agency. I have been doing commercial work for like 5+ years. But Trinity Tags Content Creation. I think I got a sticker right here. Jesus, my bad. I like slapped the mic completely right here. We've been established in 2021, January 2021, LLC, all that good stuff. So the business is new, but the man behind it has been doing it for a little bit, over 5 years. And basically, my story goes like this: when I was, I think, 5 or 6 years old, me and my family moved from Venezuela, Maracay, Venezuela. We moved to Miami. So my parents were born and raised in Venezuela. I was born and kind of raised. I consider myself a very whitewashed Latino because all of my formative years were here in the United States. But I did live in a very cultural home. So I do have that side of me, which is very rooted in Venezuelan culture, especially in food. Gosh, if you never tried an empanada or an arepa in your life, you're missing out. Hit me up, text me, DM me, and I'll let you know where you can get one in the Dallas area, a good one. There's a couple places that like sell them, but they're like they were like $15 for one. And I'm like, if this ain't cultural appropriation to the max, it's not even like real Venezuela. Anyways, yeah. So I came here with my family. I was 5 or 6. My sister was, I guess, 11-ish. And it was just us 4. We moved here. My parents sold everything that we had. Because if you guys don't know what's going on in Venezuela, it's actually very sad. We've kind of had a dictatorship for a long, long time. Thanks to Hugo Chavez. He kind of started it all. I'm not extremely educated on the situation, but I know enough to kind of talk about it. Anyways, yeah, man, it started as a democracy, and my family, we like to call it a hidden democracy, right? It's not really a democracy, but it hides behind it. It's really a dictatorship that pays off the Congress, right? Or the House of Representatives of Venezuela. Again, I don't know exactly what everything's called, but I know enough to talk about it. So, so that happened. So we were trying to get out of there because we knew what was coming. Or not by we, I mean my parents and my family. Again, I was 5 or 6. I just kind of did what they said. But yeah, we moved to Miami, which is what I like to call, Cuba, Dominican Republic, and Venezuela all mushed together. Again, the cultural side and kind of like the life of Venezuela, I feel like I got a little bit of it as I grew up. But that is one of my like biggest things. I wish I lived there longer. Again, it's not like I'm upset my parents made the best decision of my life, right? But I really do hope that one day the conflict there resolves itself and I can go back. I've always had dreams of making a documentary of going there and like filming everything that's happening there, but it's so dangerous. I think you can't even I saw the other day, it was like a year ago, there was a sign on the DFW airport. My bad. On the DFW airport place. And there was a sign that said that you can't go to Venezuela, or you couldn't go at that time, right? It's just very complicated. But that is one of my biggest dreams, is to go back and like see all the stuff I didn't get to see, like all the waterfalls, the beautiful stuff. I remember going to this island with my parents. You'd have to take a little boat there. I think it was called Morrocoy. And it was fun. I remember those things. I remember the beach. I remember the streets being all like torn up and like broken. I remember, my parents are very musical people. So my dad is a percussionist, so he plays the congas, the timbales, all that good stuff. And then my mom was a singer, so they were always like a really cool duo. And I remember I have this vivid memory. Again, I don't remember much, but I have this vivid memory. I think it was either my mom, my aunt, or my dad holding me on the shoulder in the middle of like a block party. Like it was like some sort of fiesta in the street. And I remember that. I was only 5 or 6, so I was born there, raised in the United States. So we lived in Miami. Again, I was super young, and we moved to Texas I'm bad with years. I remember grades. I don't know about you guys, but in between the 4th and the 5th grade, we moved to Euless, Texas. And then this is kind of where we've been ever since. This is kind of, I'm a Texas boy. I don't even like to say that I'm like a Miami kid, because, again, we only lived there for a few years, and I was super young. So like I remember stuff, but it's not like, It's not like I was really into the Miami culture. I am really into the Texas culture. And we have arrived to kind of the years where from the 5th grade until today, is kind of where I learned everything I do, everything I hold valuable is from that, a combination of my cultural roots of just the way you should live by Venezuelan standards, combined with, Texan kind of, ways of thinking. And yeah, so we moved to Euless. I went to like an elementary school around here, grew up, went to Trinity High School. In fact, here's a little tidbit about myself. My company name, Trinity Tags, started out as just a cool Instagram tag, but the whole point is, there's a lot of meanings to it that I've added, for client purposes. I'll give them I have a whole thing. If anybody asks where you got the name, I don't even mention this. What I'm about to say, I always tie it into like some sort of like, oh, here's what I tell clients. Or honestly, nobody's asked, but like this is what I've written out. Like if I have to give a presentation on why it's called this, is why it's called Trinity Tags Content Creation, because the Trinity, we used to have a logo, and I made a logo, and it was like 3 threes. It's called the angel numbers is when you see the same number over and over again, and they're usually signified by 3 of the same digits back to back to back. So 333 supposedly, after a Google search, signifies that you have a guardian angel watching over your back at all times. So that was like a thing that I would always say. Well, the Trinity, I signify it as the 3 threes, which is an angel number. Like throughout this whole advertising and marketing process with us, you're gonna get, we're gonna be your guardian angel. We're gonna walk you through it because it can be a very intimidating time. But that's like my thing. So that's what I would tell people, and I believe it. It's a great, none of these businesses like have a crazy, like background to it. They usually make it up, as they go to better promote their business. But the real reason is my nickname, and you'll see it in my comments. I've changed my Instagram to be like my actual name, Andres Tags, but Tags is short for Tagliaferro, right? And that's my nickname. So that's like the end of Trinity Tags. And Trinity, we're looping it all back to my high school. It's called Trinity High School. It's kind of, I play baseball there. It was an amazing experience, super diverse school. I feel like a lot of my cultural like morals and like things of like knowing how to communicate with different people, which seems to be a very sensitive topic nowadays, was super simple for me. And I feel like anybody who went there, because, we had everything from like, a bunch of Asian friends, African-American, Samoan, like Pacific Islanders. Trinity High School is actually where, the whole Haka like football thing started. I know a lot of people talk about it and then they never know where to root it back to, because one of our most popular players went to play at UT and they started doing it, and it kind of like took away from the high school shine. But yeah, so that's kind of how I started that. But yeah, in high school, rooting it all back to my career, right? In high school, I had I like my dream always growing up was to be an MLB baseball player. That's why I wear these like MLB hats. Like I love baseball. As I've grown older, I don't watch it as much as I used to because the game's changed so much. I should start a sports podcast just about that. But yeah, my dream was always to be a baseball player. I never planned on being a videographer or a graphic designer or a photographer. I always my goal, because again, very culturally rooted. Baseball is Venezuela's sport, right? We play soccer, but like we've never been that good at it. And I think that anyways, that was my thing. It was baseball. I'm going to MLBs, going to the pros. If you're a son and you have a decent, stature, it's kind of where you're going. That's where you want to make it. So I never even dreamed of being of what I'm doing now, having a podcast, none of that. But I do remember taking a class in high school. It was digital interactive media. And, that kind of introduced me to like Photoshop and stuff. Kind of where I learned graphic design. They taught us some video, but not really. And then alongside that, at my local church, I was a part of a small group called Open Your Aperture. Because another thing about me, I'm Christian. That's my moral belief is in the gospel. You know what I mean? The good news of grace. That's what I believe in. But anyways, my family is always, South Americans. They're, it's basically all Christians. You know what I mean? That's normal, mostly Catholic. But yeah, when we moved here, we ran into a church that was preaching, something different. when you come from the Catholicism, it's crazy, right? And then you go into this message of grace in the New Testament and stuff. Anyways, we were all in. So my dad was actually on the staff of the church because, again, he's a musician, so he was part of the worship team. My mom helped with the choir. She led the choir and then sang in the front line and all that. It's like a mega church in Irving. And I wanted to get involved. So I joined the production team. I learned some live production stuff through that. And then I joined this small group where it was less about production or live production and more about filmmaking. And, at the time, DSLRs, the camera, this is a cinema camera, but the cameras most people use for photos started adding video specs to it, right? So it's a huge deal, right? Because, dude, I think my dog is throwing up. There is no way this is happening right now. What was she even doing? Yep. We're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to figure this out. Stella, are you good? Hold on. All right. We're back. Yeah, so DSLRs having video features on cameras was new. So kind of the point was teaching people. His name was Jamal Jackson and Chris Chatterton. One was a videographer. The other was a photographer who ended up doing video. He does video now. But anyways, they were super adamant about getting people involved because, dude, that was the biggest thing when it comes to creative work. Being able to film a decent video on a camera that costs, a really good cinema camera costs $12,000. You know what I mean? So if you can get a camera that costs $600 that can do 1080p video, that was a big deal. So they were just trying to get people involved and be look, you can do this now. And of course they wanted them to help with the church and stuff. So anyways, I got plugged in there and they were my first two mentors. They got me, I don't have my camera here. I usually have it as a reminder, but they got me it's called a T2i. It's a Canon camera, and they gave it to me. It was a hand-me-down. It was an old camera, but it got the job done. That's how I started, doing $100 videos for people, for event spaces, for bands. A lot of my parents' stuff. My dad was in a part of a band, a Latin band, and I did some stuff for them. And yeah, that's really how it started. That's why I'm always super grateful, for my church that I used to go to, and because they taught me everything, and this is kind of segueing into it. So for the next 6 years, kind of, if you know church culture, this, that it can, if you work at a church, it can be very fulfilling, but it can also be very draining in a lot of ways. So, and all I mean by that is that usually kind of the way it works, especially if you're a smaller church setting, is you hire one guy to do all of your, everything, your production, your all of that stuff. He builds a team around that. But that one person who's leading it, at least at the church I worked at, they would get burnt out after a year. They signed a 1-year contract. At the end of the year, they'd quit or they'd leave because it was just too much work, right? So it sucks for them, right? But I was there sticking it out the whole time, helping them, learning from them. So I had, Jason Davis, this other videographer guy who was really good at editing. The other guys taught me traditional filmmaking, composition, how to actually film it, but they weren't really huge on editing. So I learned a lot of the composition, right, and all of the standards of filmmaking from the first two mentors. And then I had this other guy who actually was more about the editing side, and he taught me a bunch of Premiere Pro. And then I had DJ Val. He was a creative director there too. And, I had all of these learning opportunities from so many different people. I learned so much from all of them. Because when one would leave, the other would come, and I'd introduce myself. And I'd be like, yo, what's up? I'm Andres. I'm here to help. I'm here every Sunday. Stella, be quiet, please. There's no one out there. No one's going to kill us. And so it was great because it was kind of my dad always told me that it was as if I was in a university because every year was a new semester. You know what I mean? I had a new teacher, so I would learn so many different perspectives, and I learned so many different angles on how people viewed, cinematography and filmmaking and stuff. So it was really great for me, legit, looking back at that time and even after, I learned so much from all of that. And if I could give any young people advice, find somebody, if it's at your church, maybe you're a church who, happens to be good at, creative work. find other communities where you can like learn from other people. For me, it was the church. For you, it might be the skate park. It might be, maybe you're heavy into skate culture and there's a guy with a camera that's always filming. And maybe you can be like, yo, can I just like learn from you? I don't want to take anything from you. I want to give you value. I want to give you an assistant, an intern. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I did. And, they were great. There were other people who came by after that weren't that nice to allow that, right? Because, to take a mentorship role or a teacher role with another person, it does take time and it does take effort. So like, but I was very lucky and I got, 6 mentors in the span of 6 years. So that was when I was like 14, 13, 15. I don't know. I wasn't even in high school yet. So by the time I graduated high school, I told you guys I took that digital interactive media class. I basically knew everything that they were talking about. You know what I mean? Like, she would let me edit like passion projects while I was doing that. And by the time I finished high school, I was already like very experienced. I wouldn't say I knew a lot of traditional terms and like lingo and stuff. Because again, YouTube was just starting out around that time. There wasn't like you can just YouTube something like you can now. But yeah, it was a beautiful time. I got to learn a lot. And by the time I graduated high school and I realized, baseball was a huge opportunity for me, I was able to decide, okay, should I go to college for this? Should I try out college? Will this be my major or not? And, I went from there. So the first thing I did was go to Tarrant County College, which is a community college here in Texas. It's cheap, so if when I was thinking about trying out college, because again, I was very knowledgeable on the stuff, but I understood that I didn't have like the real terminology for stuff or the traditional ways of doing things. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go to college and they had like a radio, television and film thing. It was like I think it's called an associate's degree. It's been so long where it's like just 2 years instead of 4. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do that. There's nothing wrong with trying it. So one semester in, I've always hated school. School was never been my strong suit. I'm a huge believer in what Gary Vee says. Like, if you have an entrepreneur mindset and you want to do stuff, school isn't built for that. It's built for, the person who wants to work at a company and wants to have a job. So I wasn't the biggest fan. And of course, when I'm trying to learn, the other thing that bothered me is like, obviously when you first start, it's tricky, right? Because it's an associate's degree where you're supposed to be learning film, but the first 2 years of it is still like your basics. So the first semester was all like English, math. I think I had one film class, and it was like a film appreciation class where we literally sat down in a room and just watched movies, and then we would write like a page of what you appreciated about the film. Luckily enough, I had a really cool professor, which we kind of reignited our relationship a few months ago. Adrian Neely, he's really cool because he would actually go into like specific stuff, but I could tell it was like a course that was meant to be like a get me my credit for digital stuff class. So I was very unfulfilled and unsatisfied because I'm sitting here, I was working at Guitar Center, I was doing that while at the same time going to school. I didn't have a car, so it was complicated. I had to get rides everywhere. And I was like, dude, I'm really out here. I had a phase where I was like a poet. I wanted to do, I love writing, and I think that was for a purpose. I'm not saying that it wasn't something that benefited me, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm out here in English classes and math classes, and I just, I failed algebra that first semester because I just wasn't interested in it. So I didn't do the homework. I didn't study. It just wasn't the best year for me. It wasn't the best, or not year, but however long a semester is. And I really wasn't fulfilled by it. And then so that semester ends. I think it was like spring or fall. Then fall semester starts. And around this time, I was approached by, the pastor of at the church. We were launching a new location, and he was super cool. You know what I mean? Like he made a super entrepreneurial mindset. He was super tapped into culture. So like Instagram is popping, right? So we're like, he understood we need like a really good creative team to build up the church. So he hits me up. He's like, yo, I know you do video, and I know you play keys in the youth on Wednesdays. You should stop doing that and come join me in Dallas, right? And I was like, oh, this is so dope, right? I get to like experiment and actually do stuff. So we go and we start, building that, making videos, living that life, going out every day on a weekday, and I had classes, so it was complicated because it was, my second semester, and I don't advise to do this, but I'm just telling my story, right? It got to a point, and Mom, if you're listening to this, I'm very sorry. I don't think you even know this, but I would go to class. I would, because my mom. Okay, little backstory. My mom worked at the place, right? She was a part of the HR of the college, right? So she would drive me to the college, to the thing to go to my classes. And at first, of course, first semester I was actually attempting, right? I was trying, even though I wasn't into it. I was trying. Then the second semester, I really didn't care. So, the cool thing about the second semester, I had another class which was actually talking about like film, and it was talking about the industry. It was talking about, it's kind of where I learned how a crew actually works, because at the time, when you're coming up on social media where it's just a guy with a camera with a DSLR, one-man bands were very popular. They're very inexpensive for businesses to use, or not businesses, but like influencers, and like the stuff I was doing, like event coverage and stuff. It was a one-man band kind of stuff. But he's going into like Hollywood sets, like, oh man, there's a gaffer, there's all this, the director of photography, the art director. There's like all of these different roles that you can play. And that's where I learned everything about like the industry standards of stuff. Like I said, I didn't know like real terminology. So this class was super great because I got to learn it. And, it's funny because then it turned into a different class where we were learning editing and stuff. And the guy who was the professor, Adrian Neely, knew that I was kind of experienced. So it was cool because he would let me edit my freelance projects during the class, as long as he could see them and see that I'm still working on something. He didn't care that I wasn't doing the school projects. But anyways, it got to a point, where I was so bored with classes and so interested in doing what we were doing in Dallas that I would have my mom drop me off in the campus, and then I would text somebody to come pick me up and go to Dallas. And we would just do that, and then they drop me off back at college, and then my mom would pick me up and say, how were classes? And I said, they were great. I actually am enjoying college now and all this stuff. Needless to say, I failed every class. My GPA, my current GPA in college is probably like a 1 point something. Yeah. So after that semester, I decided, I had to talk with my parents. Shout out my parents. I told them, look at what I've done. Look at what I've done with my mini business, as a freelancer, with Calvary Dallas, with, that's the name of the church that we built there. Look at what we're doing. I really think that I'm going to learn more going every day and filming hands-on and meeting other people who do it, right? Because cool thing about this church was that like it wasn't like a regular, like you come to on a Sunday and whatever. Like we went out every weekday, you know what I mean? And like we went to the community and we learned from people. Like we were a part of Bishop Arts. Like we knew the people, at the Laughing Willow. We knew the people at every like local business, who are actually doing life with people. So I was like, look, I really do think that this is a really great opportunity, obviously for learning purposes, but also like we're working with businesses. Maybe they could use my services. You know what I mean? And my mom saw that, and, it was a long conversation, but eventually they were like, okay, you know what? Let's try it. You can always go back. You know what I mean? It's not the biggest deal. People take gap years to like travel the world, right? So let's give him, they didn't tell me this. I'm sure they thought it, and I thought it for sure. Like, because the beauty of college is it gives you a safety net, right? So if you ever do fail or whatever, you can always just get a job because you have a degree, right? It's not that simple. I have opinions about that. But that's the theory, right? That if you have a degree, you can just get a job anywhere and it'll be easier than if you don't. So I was always like, I can go back. It's not a big deal. I can retake those classes. I can get those grades up if I actually try, So they let me do it. They were like, you know what? Go ahead, drop out of college. Let's see how it goes. So me, hello, Andres. I'm a college dropout. That's right. I dropped out of college at 19. Um, and yeah, things just started, you know, changing from there. Cause again, like it was the first time I bought a car after saving up all of my like freelance money, bought like a $2,000 car. Shout out to Cole. That was his name. It's a Chevy Malibu, tinted windows. It was dope. Um, but yeah, I dropped out of college. I didn't look back. We built that thing, man. I ended up working, I interned at a advertising agency. That didn't work out. So then I go and then I work. I get, after doing my freelancing for a while, this group called Sync Marketing, led by a couple of dudes who I really admire. They were like, "Hey, we have a team of like 6 employees. We'd love for you to like oversee the content for them." Like, and again, me, little old me, with no experience in the no skin in the game, really, right? I mean, I'm only 19 at the time. I think I was 20 by the time that they reached out to me, right? It was like a whole year. How much do you want to get charged? I gave them, how much would you like want to get paid? I gave them what I wanted to get paid, and they were like, done. We met at happy hour. I couldn't drink. So it was funny, right? Because this young cat coming in hot to a team of like experienced, like not middle aged, but like upper 20s guys. And I'm just coming in with video, right? They didn't have video. They didn't have the capacity to do that. Didn't have the people that could do that. Coming in with, graphic design as well. Most of them were designers. And yeah, man. So I think I worked there for a few months. It wasn't too long until my church decided, hey, we want to give you a full-time job here. Because again, everything I was doing before was volunteer. Everything I was doing for free. I wasn't getting paid for anything. The guy who was, again, not because of the people there, but just the upper leadership just wouldn't hire me. So the guy would always give me like gas money, you know what I mean? So it was nice. It wasn't like, I was just doing everything. But again, when you think about it, right, I was new to this whole thing. I didn't understand that like you can make $10,000 on a video. You know what I mean? I didn't comprehend this. I was in the streets. I dove in headfirst, like legit. A year after I graduated, my parents moved to North Carolina. So I was, living on my own. I, had to pay rent, you know what I mean? For the first time. I had bills to pay, a lot of change in like a year, so I went through that, and I'm grateful for it. It's really changed the way I see life. And I think for a 22-year-old, I'm pretty mature, when it comes to like responsibility and crap like that. I mean, let's be honest, I'm not the best cleaner around the house. You know what I mean? I think that's just a dude thing. I don't know. But in general, mentality wise, I think that really like impacted me and informed me into a different person. Imagine if I would have just gone to college for 4 years where, you're really not learning too much. I don't know. I have a weird opinion about college. Like, I feel like if you're going to do it, you got to go all the way in and go to like, which was my dream school at the time, the Academy of Art in San Francisco. Like, you got to go to like a prestigious college to really get something out of it. You know what I mean? So maybe the fact that I went to a community college didn't really help the way I saw, what do they call it? Upper education. I don't know. I don't even understand the lingo about education. But I come from the streets. You know what I mean? Like, I learned stuff while doing it. That's just kind of how I grew up. And of course, by learning from other people. Look, this is the biggest thing I feel like impacted my life. Those 6 years that I referenced earlier, where I had 6 different mentors, and I got to learn like from them, like really like legitimate techniques, editing techniques, how to film an interview, the 180-degree rule. If you're just a random business guy, you don't know what I'm talking about. But I'm just saying, like, imagine if you, instead of going 4 years of college and being $90,000 in debt, what if you went to your local entrepreneur who has 5 different, stores in the town square? What if you went to him and you were like, look, I'm going to go and I want to just learn, right? Because it's like weird. It's complicated, right? Because for me, I was doing it in the context of the church where that's normal, Every church has volunteers, right? It's normal. In the business world, you get paid to work, right? So there's this weird stigma that Gary Vee talks about a lot, where working for free, he says it's a good thing. I agree. That's what I did for however many years. You know what I mean? But you literally go to the dude and you ask him, hey, what could you use from an assistant, or like, what do you need? And I'll fulfill that need. In exchange, just teach me your ways. I just want to be what you're doing. I just want to be who you are. You know what I mean? And I think that those are the two planes of learning in education. It's the formal education where you learn from professors in a curriculum that's, motivated by, getting paid thousands of dollars, which, the real motivation isn't really to teach people. Like, it's not like a real mentor apprentice, it's not a real mentor apprentice like learning experience. I was listening to a clip the other day from this guy named Jordan Peterson. I'm sure you guys know who he is. He's like so he was a psychologist, he was a professor, and it was just a random thing. He was like, I would hope that in your college career you run into at least one or two mentors. And I was like, wait a minute. Don't you take like 6 classes a semester? 5 classes, 3 if you're lazy. Don't you take so isn't that 6 different professors? And you're telling me that in the span of 4 years, you might run into one, and you're paying $30,000 a semester? Isn't the whole point of college to get that experience? Oh, no. The point of college is to party. Oh yeah, I forgot. The point of college is just to make your parents proud. It's just so they have an alumni sticker on their car, or maybe to follow the family legacy of every other person who went to that college when college was actually valuable. Maybe that's what college is for. It's not actually to build intimate relationships with mentors and peers and grow your network. I don't know, man. I think that's one, right? Again, this is all in the context of 2021, okay? I don't want you to get it twisted. I know that back in the day, and by back in the day, I mean like 5 to 10 years ago, not that far behind, college had some value. Like, there was no internet. There was no quick YouTube search. There was no Peter McKinnon to teach you photos. There was no Graham Stephan YouTube channel to teach you about taxes. There was none of that. So you had to go and get that business degree. You had to go and like do all this stuff. Now there is. So the game has changed, right? So there's that one formal education bucket, right? Which a lot of people go down because it's the safe way, because it's the traditional way, right? And maybe you want a job and you want to be secure. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is hustle culture. We're talking to people who have dreams and aspirations, right? And then there's the second, which is simply learning from other people, hand to hand, intimately, like I did, like a lot of people have. I think the scary part about culture nowadays is that, I wouldn't even say that, because now this bucket is becoming more, the bucket, I forget that there's audio listeners and I'm doing gestures. The bucket where, you learn from other people and mentorship and stuff is more popular, thanks to the Gary V's of the world and the internet. But still, like, there's this social stigma. I faced it. You know how many of my friends were like, oh, this guy's going to fail. This guy dropped out of college. He's working at Guitar Center. He has a camera. He's kind of good, I guess. I mean, he's all right. You know what I mean? Like, that was the thought. And I wouldn't even say discrimination. Discrimination is a crazy word to use for that. But there was a stigma to my name, because I was a college dropout, because they believe that this is the thing. And the same friends now, have switched their major 18 times and they still haven't graduated college. You know what I mean? So it's like, at what point do you really find value in the way you educate yourself, right? There's this weird thing when you say an education that you're implying, oh, he got an education. You're implying that you got it at a university or a college, when education is really just learning, right? You can find education anywhere. I mean, I educate myself every day in the morning when I watch a YouTube video, you know what I mean, about a certain topic. You know, I just educated myself. All that to say, like, let's get out of this way of thinking that like college and university is the way, it's the move. You have to do it. Like, you know, I'm passionate about this because I live this. I understand that like everybody has different paths, and a lot of really good business people and millionaires did go to college. Because in the big span of things, right, it's just 4 years. If you're living 80 years, 4 years of your life is something that's worth it, right? Theoretically. But I don't know. In the short term, I just couldn't see myself in my head wasting, 2 to 4 years on a curriculum that I didn't believe in, or that I already, again, I had been doing it, not professionally. I mean, yes, professionally, because I was getting paid to do, a few gigs here and there, but not at a high level. My dog is like whining over there. Not at a high level, but I had been doing it for 5 years, 6 years before college came, right? So when I'm taking these classes and I'm learning, oh, well, this is how you start a project at Premiere. I was like, I know how to do that, And I know it sounds arrogant, but it's just the way it was. And it was never like I'm too good for college kind of thing. It was just a legitimate question. Is this an actual valuable use of my time? And I encourage you, if you're in that season where I know a lot of the people who follow me, at least on Instagram, are in their 20s. I've always surrounded myself around older people. But, to the people out there who are listening or watching and are like, man, I'm just not feeling this college thing. Dude, nowadays it is so much easier and acceptable than when I did it. It was still more acceptable when I did it than like I said, 5 to 10 years ago. But, it's doable. You can drop out and you can really learn, but you really got to do it. You really got to try. Like, you really got to grind. You really got to go in. And, that's another thing that I haven't really talked about. I think there's a video about depression and anxiety on my Instagram. If you go all the way back, Stella, go to your poof. Go. But, yeah, there was when I moved out and I was by myself and I was on my own, and I knew that I didn't have a safety net, and I had to make, $800 to pay for my bills a month. And again, I'm charging $100 to $250 a project. So I had to land 5 different projects from new clients. That got to me. I was like, dang, I really have to I got at a point where I couldn't sleep well, because I knew that me sleeping could be me emailing potential clients, or me sleeping could be me working on a post on Instagram that a business owner might see. It got into a really unhealthy, balance for me, where I got depressed, but mostly it was not really depression. It was more of an anxious thing, an anxiety thing. I remember waking up in cold sweat because I felt like, I was missing on an opportunity and I wasn't going to pay rent. And it got to the point, where, there was a point where I'll tell this story because I think it matters. But that first internship I had briefly mentioned, this thing was promised, right? It was yeah, if you do this for this amount of time, for a month, it was like a trial period, we'll pay you well and you'll come on team. And at the end of the month, me excited, scared, because they had promised to pay for my bills, right? I still hadn't gotten paid. It was the 2nd of the month. You get till the 3rd to pay off your thing, right? You get your little grace period. I get an email saying we're only going to pay you $11 an hour. And I'm here wait, so you want me to exhaust my creative mindset where it'll take away from everything I want to do on a personal side for the same amount of money that I can get paid at In-N-Out? Flipping burgers, that doesn't really take a lot of skill, and I can just get out of that and do my own thing. And not only that, they wanted me to sign an exclusivity contract, so I couldn't do any freelance work on the side. So I'm making $11 an hour. That's what, maybe $1,200 a month? And luckily enough, I was surrounded by people who were able to tell me don't do that because it's a bad deal. It was like, I compare it to like when people like like what's it called? The musicians. Oh, like the labels. That's what I felt like I was getting myself into. A label, a really bad 360 contract. And, so I left. But I didn't have anything. I just had my freelance. That was like what I was planning on. So I wasn't actively, seeking out clients or anything. And, I didn't have a way to make money, and I had to like bite the bullet. I got a job at a Starbucks in a hotel. Did that for like a month until I was offered the contract with the new agency, right? But that was like a whole different season, right? Where like, man, I dropped out of college. I told my parents I was going to make it. I told, all my friends have seen my Instagram. It's grown a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I'm supposed to be this guy who has it figured out, and I'm making coffee at a Starbucks. And I was the only dude making coffee at a Starbucks. It was all females. It was just me. It was a very tough time. And my dog keeps licking the wires, and it keeps making me think she's going to like trip over it and everything's going to fall apart. But anyways, yeah, that was what I was going through, and it wasn't easy. And that's what you don't hear, right? From the big entrepreneurs who've made it, right? It's like, you don't hear the times that they did kind of fail, or they did not plan accordingly. That's all it was. It wasn't that I wasn't good at my craft. I just didn't plan for that to happen. And in fact, I've said it before on social, and there's an article that I'm on I was a guest on a magazine, and I kind of go into it. But not only was I only offered $11 an hour, I sent an email back saying, I'm sorry, this is not enough for what I've been given. Like, bro, I was doubling the production. Like, I was editing videos. I was doing so much for them. And then, he's like, oh, we can only offer you this much. I said, I'm sorry, that's not enough for me. Let me know when you have enough to pay me, and we can work. And he replies with a long email, and he bolds out in one point. He says this: you're a college dropout, a 19-year-old college dropout with little experience. Nobody's going to want to pay you more than this. And I took that, and I've thought about getting that tattooed on me because it's inspired me and motivated me so much. And every time I feel like an imposter, I always remember that. And the worst part is, a month later, I'm working at Starbucks. So I'm thinking all these anxious and depressing thoughts of like, maybe he was right. Maybe I should have just taken the deal. I wanted this much. Maybe I don't deserve it, All these negative thoughts, right? And then I get a call from this guy, come out to this bar, which I can't be in because I'm 20, but the bartender didn't have to know that. I go, and we I'm working at for a decent pay that I wanted at the time. And these are just parts of my story. I told you guys I want to get intimate with you guys in this episode and let you guys know a little bit about myself and my story. But, after that, I went full time with my church, and I was able to do stuff with them and also build my thing and build up my freelance kind of thing. Fast forward, right? 2021, we establish, post-pandemic, not even post, but it was still in the pandemic. But in the later part of it, I get the LLC. I have some good clients, some decent clients that like I'm married at this point. We have an apartment, a dog. I'm living well. I'm not rich by any means. I'm not a millionaire, but this is what I wanted. Like, my goal for whenever I decided to drop out of college was, I just want to be able to do what I love full time. And I was doing it. I was doing it full time. I didn't have to work at Starbucks to do it. I didn't have to sign a crappy deal with this dude to do it. I didn't have to do any of that. God provided, and I was able to get to a place where now, I'm doing this full time. I don't have to work anywhere else, Like, for like my business, I'm building a business, I'm building a podcast, and all of that, all of that story. Just to say that, like, our whole point here is to empower and inspire dreamers, right? To follow their ambition and their dreams. Dude, if a 19-year-old kid who with no degree, with 3 friends, can do it, can get to a point where at least, again, I'm not at the point yet where I'm a millionaire or where I can like actually say that I have a successful, huge business, right? I have a successful business. It's profitable. It's paying for everything you see here. I have over $10,000 worth of gear for this crap. You know what I mean? But like, I'm not there yet, but I reached my goal. That was my success. If I can just do this full time and not have to work another job, that's kind of lit. I don't work a day job. You know what I mean? Like, that was it. I wanted to get out of that rhythm. I wanted to start, doing stuff, and I did it. You can do it, bro. If I can reach that, right? Which again isn't what gets praised on socials, right? I don't have a bajillion dollars. I'm not Jeff Bezos. I'm not Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not, who else? Bill Gates. R.I.P. Steve Jobs. I'm not Steve Jobs. I think I will be, and that's my ambition, right? That's where I want to be. But even all of that aside, if I forever make what I make right now, and I just have the freedom to do the stuff I want to do, that's a W. You know what I mean? I think that's something we need to talk about today, right now. If you're watching or you're listening, open up another tab, open up your notes section, and I want you to write down your definition of success. Okay? Something that's very important to me is defining what makes certain things. Stella, bro, she's like tripped over that cable like 7 times, and it's stressing me out. But write down your definition of success. For me, it was to do what I love full time. That was my definition. I am successful in my eyes. In my head, I'm happy about that. Now, don't get me wrong. The ambition and the stuff will haunt you, right? Because once you get there, then you obviously set new goals. So if you see cuts, it's me just telling my dog to sit and not run through the set. It's like cut number 27,000. But I want you to really like write down what is your definition of success. Because if you don't have one, you don't know what you're building towards. If you don't know what you are aspiring to, it's going to be very difficult for you to make it through. Arnold said it best in The Last Thing. You're going to go through emotional tough times, through physical tough times, through financial tough times. And if you don't have the passion, right, to do it, it's going to be very hard to get through those really tough times, right? Well, if you don't know what you're going towards and you don't have that dream and that vision, it's going to be even harder because I know a lot of passionate people. I know a lot of people who can play the mess out of a guitar, but they're not trying to build anything. They're not trying to get anywhere. And you know what? If that's what you want to do and you want to build and you just want to be really good at something just for the skill of it, that's great. By all means, do your thing. I don't want to change anything. But if you do know that you want to be the next Jimi Hendrix, but you don't have a goal, you don't have goals in place, there's no way to track your progress. There's no way to check your, again, I hated school. I love science. One of the things that I remember from elementary school was in order to have a valid hypothesis, it needs to be measurable and trackable, right? Hypothesis, let me explain, is just a hunch, right? When you have a hypothesis, when you have a conclusion that you think is true, like the world is round, you need to be able to measure how, right? If you think that, whatever, that's just how it works. Well, you have to apply that to you. Your hypothesis is you're going to be a huge NBA star, but you don't know what the first thing is that you're supposed to check yourself on. Let's take it the traditional route. You graduate high school, you're the best player on the team. That's a good measurement. That can be your metric of success for that season in your life, right? That's another thing. It changes every time you grow and you continue to grow. But if you're in high school and you want to make it to the NBA, you know that you have to be the best in your high school that will get like seen by scouts. You know you got to be the best. You know you got to put in hours in the gym, more hours than all your teammates. You know you got to do this or that, right? You know you got to win, maybe even get a state title. That's another goal you can set. And then you go to college, getting into a good college. That's your next metric, right? Getting into a good college. Now, you're in the good college, you know that you have to perform. That's your next thing. You know you got to like score 20 buckets a game. You got to, have at least 6 assists a game. If you're a point, all these things, right? Okay, well, that's your next metric. You reach it. Again, satisfied success. You feel good. What's next? The next metric, it's the 4th year. You're a senior. You need to get a call. You need to get something, right? And again, I know in basketball it's different because most people don't even, like, I know Kevin Durant or whatever, like, you'll do 1 year in college and then or like Lonzo, 1 year in college and you'll dip out. But you get the point. Like, if you don't know how to track your success, you won't get there. You'll more than likely stay where you're at because you're just trying to, one of the things one of the mind traps I had growing or when I dropped out of college and I wanted new clients and stuff is like, I need to hone in my skill. I need to be the best. And I worked relentlessly on just the cuts, YouTubing. How do you do the really sexy, like, the seamless transitions that Sam Colder does and all these other guys who are popular and are more successful than me. And I learned every technique. Like, if I go in Premiere right now, I could probably you ask me for something, I can do it without looking it up, But I wasn't really good at the time. I always had the ambition, but I didn't know the metrics of business, right? In order to be a successful videographer, you need to have really great gear, right? How do you need to pay for that gear? You need to pay for the gear with the money that you're making with the gear that you currently have, right? So that was my metric. It's like, and again, this isn't healthy. There's levels to this, right? For me, that's how I measured my success, was kind of the gear that I had. Not because I thought that I could create better stuff with it, which was true, or like I was being held back by the gear that I currently had, but because I knew that if I could afford this, it means I'm doing kind of well. You know what I mean? If I could afford the $4,000 camera I'm filming this with, then I'm probably doing a good job. You know what I mean? If I could afford the $2,000 lens, I'm probably, I'm valued to some degree. So that was my metric. It was my gear, and simply because of the being able to afford it, there's a huge, most of y'all aren't videographers or creatives. There's a huge thing there, right? Like, you shouldn't measure your gear for that shouldn't be a metric. But that was my metric. And, it helped me get through it. And it helped me have a goal to like strive towards. But there was a season where I was just stuck on trying to get better and like honing in my craft. And, I do think it was necessary. I'm not saying like for everything you do, you got to have that training, that off season. You gotta have that time where you're just in crunch mode, learning and growing to get to those other places. But what I'm saying is, if I never got out of that and I never started to look elsewhere, because again, with any skill, there's never really like, there's an upper echelon where it starts. It's like when you, sorry, I'm a geek. When you play Call of Duty, for example, right? And you're playing online and you're leveling up, right? As you level up and you get to the higher levels before the peak, it gets a lot harder to level up each time. When you start, you get like 2 kills and you're like level 7 already. When you're getting in the level 40s, it incrementally gets harder. You have to do more to level up. And it's kind of the same when it comes to your career and when it comes to what you're trying to do. When you start, it's real easy to see progress. When you're really into it, then you got to start switching up your goals. And, for example, in the game, you got to like get more headshots because it gives you more experience. Well, same here. You know what I mean? I got to get, these different clients. I got to expand. I got to diversify my clientele. My bad. So all that to say, just remember, if you're trying to build something, just remember that you got to have goals in place to do it, because you're not going to grow. You're not going to get better. You're not going to grow as a individual if you don't have these goals in place. It could be simple goals, man. But just know, for me, And again, if you walk away or close your laptop and you have anything, you have anything in mind, I want you to at least walk away with a definition of success for you for this period. You need to understand when you reach that, there's going to be a different one, right? Because that's just how life works. You get a car, you pay it off, you want a new car. It's just how it's life, right? So just your definition, whatever it may be. For me, again, simply to do this full time. Simply to not have to, then from doing this full time, because to do it full time, all you have to do is barely get by, live paycheck to paycheck, then it was to not worry about bills, to be able to have 4 months, 6 months, 10 months, 12 months in the savings so I can not worry about that. That was my next thing. You know what I mean? Now it's get the $10,000 cinema camera, right? That'll put me in a different place in the industry, right? Where I'll start getting paid $30,000 for a video. It's my next thing that I want to get, build up a team, pay other people's salaries. That's the next step, right? So that's all I want to say. Set up your success, set up your definition, and reach it, all right? And drink good coffee while you're doing it. It makes life way better. But yeah, look, we've been recording for about an hour already. Holy crap. I wanted to talk about one thing today before leaving. Again, that was my story. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some value out of that. I hope it inspired you a little bit. Maybe seeing me, the college dropout kid who had to go back and work at Starbucks and, was only worth $11 an hour in the opinion of one entrepreneur who apparently, never mind. I was going to diss him, but I'm not going to. I hope that helped. I hope that gives you a little bit of clarity, even for you, But anyways, one of the things I like to study psychology. As you've seen in my last episodes, they're very extremely mentality based. I really believe that it's important for you to have a good, clear mind to really operate and perform at a high level. So I like studying that kind of stuff. With that comes cultural trends. That's something I really love, looking at and listening to other people's opinions on it. But there was this one trend. I was talking to Jacob. You guys have heard me reference him before. He's a photographer here at Hustle Culture, and he does a bunch of other stuff. But I was talking to him. I was like, we were listening to J. Cole's new album and Nicki Minaj's new song with Drake and Lil Wayne, and man, it was refreshing. It was real refreshing. I love J. Cole. I kind of named my first car after Cole because it was like a street car. It was super hood. It had blacked out rims, blacked out. I felt like a gangster in there. So I thought it was dope. But yeah, we were listening and we were like, oh my God, these flows are immaculate. Every song, he has the same kind of sound, but he's experimenting with different flows and different topics. And it's never one thing. And I was like, man, the Baby, for example, the Baby, I pull up, he has the same flow on every song. Megan Thee Stallion, same flow on every song. Cardi B, same flow on every song. And I started thinking about why? Why is this appreciated now in culture and society when back then the Coles were appreciated, the Kendricks? Oh my God, Kendrick's last album, damn, not damn. That was the name of the album. Damn. Every song was literally a different feeling, a different emotion. So he would change his voice, he would, change the instrumental. It didn't sound, it sounded like Kendrick in the sense that you knew Kendrick always changes up his stuff, right? You knew that about Kendrick. So that was associated with him. So you could tell it was a Kendrick song every time. But if you heard every song individually with no inclination as to who Kendrick was, it would be, it sounds like Kendrick, right? His voice. But I'm just saying, the way the songs are different, you wouldn't think that it was the same artist. And that was appreciated because you're being able to, it's like in business, you diversify your portfolio to keep yourself from like a crash or something, right? Like that's valued, having a diverse portfolio. Now it's the opposite. It's like you got to be really good at one thing and just build on that, right? And to a degree, I agree with that. I'm really good at video and I'm building a business off that, right? It's the thing. But every video is different. You know what I mean? Like it's not as simple as just being good at one thing. And I thought about TikTok, right? The funny thing about TikTok stars is like, and I am super excited for the near 3 years, maybe 3 to 5 years, to see how this affects them. But a Charli D'Amelio, right, is known for dancing. She's known for dancing. That's her thing. We don't go to her for anything else. Any kid who thinks she's pretty or whatever will go because she's dancing. That's it. That's all she does. Every video is just a different new dance, but it's dancing. It's the only thing she does. There's literally there's this guy, I don't know his name. His I just found it was like Copy, I think, Khaby. He has this meme where, it'll be a video of someone doing something that's like kind of dumb. Like one was like a bodybuilder breaking an apple with his bare hands, and he was showing how like hard it was to do that. Which, by the way, my friend told me it's not even that hard to do. He was just doing it. But he's like a big muscle guy. And then it'll cut to him, and he's just like, has like a really funny face where he'll just kind of look at the camera like, really? Like, are you serious? It's kind of that look. And he's just holding a knife, and he just cuts it, and then he like points at it. And it's like, all of his videos on TikTok are literally just him doing that with different videos, if that makes sense. So the whole point of like TikTok stardom is you just get one really funny joke. Don't get me wrong. Like it takes creation to come up with that, but you just do one really funny joke and you just do it over and 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 over in different scenarios for people to like and funny. And like, that's what you're good at. And it's so sad because I was really on TikTok when it came out, and I would see like there's this other guy who his whole shtick was him pretending to be God and like creating like turtles or like stuff. He was like, yeah, I want it to be a lizard, but like a tank, and it was funny because then it was like a conversation between God and Gabriel, which is like another angel. And then the angel would be like, why would you create that? That was the punchline, right? And I saw that he tried to post a different style, like a different idea. No likes. Like he went from getting 2.7 million likes on every video to like, 10,000. And I started thinking about, wow, is this the next wave? Because it's affecting culture already. Like I said, DaBaby, Cardi, Meg, and what happens in music, what happens in pop culture happens everywhere else. We see it even when it comes to digital media houses, like creatives. You go to their Instagram, every photo looks the same. They're really good at this one editing style, I fell into that trap. I talked about it with Morgan and Jaron on the podcast. It was part of that episode. How like it changes the way you even work, because then you gotta deliver this specific thing, and then you forget about what the client needs because you're worried about your thing. It's this slippery slope of really complacency, but it's getting gratified by culture because that's what they want, and then if you don't give them that. I mean, I fell for it. I did it so there was a season in those years that I had dropped out of college where I really got into street photography. That was kind of the community that we were targeting, the street culture of Dallas, and street photography was a huge part of the community. So we dove into that, and I just really fell in love with it. But to get likes, I had to find my own style and just literally, it was as simple as this. Put a preset on every photo that looks the same, maybe with a vignette, and then just post it. And it would get, I used to get like easy 150 likes with like the occasional 400 like photo. You know what I mean? If I tagged the right people and they shared it. But that was now I barely get any likes, on my stuff because I'm actually doing stuff that's valuable and content that actually matters, So I get less likes, but I get more comments about how it's changing people's lives. Anyways, we can get into that in a little bit. But like I was getting gratified for literally doing nothing. for literally putting no effort. Like, yeah, I had to take the photo, but in the edit where you're supposed to get creative, it's just the same thing. And it's affecting TikTok, social media culture. It's affecting, the creative life. I know so many, like, for example, my friend Ty, he was also on the podcast. Dang, we're only six episodes deep, but like we got some good conversations. Y'all should go check them out. Ty, for example, he got really good at After Effects and glow effects and like making dance videos where like there's like super special effects. He blew up doing videos for celebrities. You know what I mean? Like 20,000 followers on Instagram, which is huge, right? Locally and stuff. And then he got in a space where that was all he was doing. And I know because I've talked to him, he felt frustrated because he wanted to get out of it. And it's like people only want, now it's like, get really good at this one thing. For me, it might be the podcast, But get really good at this one thing and you can't ever get out of that. And, you can say, and I've thought about this because I've thought about this topic thoroughly. Well, back then, Britney Spears had a sound. Singers and artists had a sound. And the labels hated when they changed it because it might affect some people. But, like, not every Beatles album sounds the same. You know what I mean? Not every, I don't know. Like I said, there's so many artists who got praised for changing it up, And it's like, that doesn't matter anymore. You just got to be really good at one thing. And it's just sad. And I'm bringing it up because I want to start this conversation, even if it's in my little community. Let's not do that, man. Let's, as a community of consumers, because that's what we are. I create, but I consume most of the time. Let's not box people in. Because I know that, like, in the beginning, when you're doing something that's, like, hitting, like Ty, for example, like, he was excited, like, lit, this is dope. But after a year, after 2, 4, 5 years of doing the same thing, you want to change it up. It happened with a lot of, like, early YouTubers. Prank versus Prank. He tried doing a vlog channel, and, like, yeah, there was, like, the really cult fan, but, like, it never translates. And I get it, man. I get it. Maybe that's the solution. Maybe the thing you're supposed to do is keep doing that one thing that's making the money, right? Or whatever. Keep doing that one thing over and over again. And then just build something else on the side for like a different following. I don't know. I just think it's an unfair. And again, it's a mindset like the audience doesn't control what you do. You can always do whatever you need to do, right? And I think that's the healthy part. I've seen a lot of successful people, pivot and change their strategy and do different things, right? So I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just don't like where that's heading. Because now we're praising people. I don't know. And again, it's not wrong to praise someone for being really good at one thing, but boxing them in and labeling them as the guy, or the funny God joke guy, and that's all you can ever do. I'd feel a little depressed. I would probably go into a little state of depression, like, oh, these people only like that joke. They don't like me. It could probably go way deeper than that. But I think it's just a conversation, and I'm eager to learn and see how it affects the Charli D'Amelios who are going into mainstream media now, and like they go on a show, maybe expecting a conversation about how she cracked the code of TikTok or how she knew that was going to be the thing that blows up. Like, that's the stuff I'm interested in, right? Like, if you're listening to this hustle culture, that's probably what you're interested in, the mindset. Like, what happened? Was it on a whim? Was it planned? Was it strategic? And then instead, she goes on the Ellen show, and then they ask her to do a dance with Ellen. Just for that clip that might have millions of views. to do that one thing. I want to see how they pivot and how they switch. We've seen it. I mean, we've seen it in the past with Logan Paul. He went from Vine to YouTube, from the vlog guy to the podcast guy to the boxer. You know, we've seen it with KSI, this other YouTuber from England, from FIFA YouTuber to rapper to boxer to just all out personality, building the Sidemen. It's not like it's not doable. But it's just like way more common now to be stuck to one thing. Like even when they pivoted and they switched, like people, there was a certain excitement to it, right? Because it's like, oh, we get to see this other side of the celebrity. But now it's like, no, we only want to see this from you. I mean, the biggest area that this affects is like models, like girls who post bikini photos. You know what I mean? Like that. Imagine like the post where they post something. It actually. That's the saddest thing when I see on Instagram, like my friends that are models that do stuff, right? But are known for their bodies, for example. And then they post something that's actually intellectual. You know, I had a funny conversation with one of my friends. We were talking about how, like, you know, she needs to rebuild her Instagram to be more like for guys because she wanted a boyfriend and stuff. But she posted, so she's a pretty girl, right? So she would post these pretty photos. And then she would post like a photo of a page in a book that she was reading. And it would get zero, like way less likes. Nobody really cared. And it's like, that's so sad. Like this girl's trying to show you a piece of her mind, right? Trying to be intellectual. And then us as a society, you know, we don't praise that. We don't appreciate that. So now that person has a complex of like, oh, well, I just need to post sexy photos every time. You know, that's a whole nother conversation that maybe I'm not in the place. I would love to get like someone like that on the podcast, you know, like an Instagram model on the podcast. I think that's a crazy topic to talk about. Let me know if that sounds fun to you guys, but it definitely sounds interesting to me. But yeah. That's just, I leave in the comments, how do you think this is going to play out? Because it's not like it was just TikTok happened and now it's a trend and now it's a thing. Like I said, it's been built up for ages, right? You have a certain sound in music. That's all you need to do. Don't break out of it because it might not do well. So it's been a lingering factor when it comes to creative work. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. If you're listening to Spotify, go to my Instagram, Andres R Tags, and leave your thoughts on that. DM me. I'd love to talk to you guys about it. But I just think it's not smart to trap the people who are supposed to be innovators to only be good at one thing, you know, or to only do one thing, one specific thing, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you can't do anything besides TikTok. But you should be allowed to do other jokes if you're a comedian. You know what I mean? Like nobody should just want you for that one joke. Like that's just sad. And it's even sadder when you see them trying to break out of it and it just doesn't work. Like, I don't know. I just think it's interesting. And in my opinion, what do I think is going to happen? I would like to believe that this trend of TikTokers, because TikTok, of course, the only reason I reference TikTok is the newest social media with the most attention. So yeah, that's gonna be culture, right? That's culture. That's where it's at. The next generation's on it. That's what it's leading to. I would like to believe that as these Charli D'Amelio start branching out into mainstream media and doing other things, like they'll address that as an actual problem in that community. As they see it, as they start going through that, you know, the Bryce Halls who are doing like YouTube now and other stuff. I'm not super tapped into the celebrities, but I know the big ones. You know what I mean? I think that's what'll happen in the next 3 to 5 years. They'll see the struggle. They'll talk about the struggle. The community will empathize with them, and like there'll be a whole movement because everything's a movement now. And yeah, I think it'll like reset. But it's just funny. I just thought it was hilarious how it started there and now it's like in music heavily. Like every DaBaby song. Don't get me wrong. I love DaBaby because like his subject matter changes a lot. He'll go deep. Like I forgot. Intro. I think is that intro song to like one of his latest albums. Talks about like his father dying on the same day that he blew up or whatever, or his brother. I don't remember. So like the subject matter is cool because he changes it, but the flow is always the same. And like, man, I would love to see the baby try something new. But the fact is that he understands that what sells tickets is that, because that's what people like. And so that's what causes the person in the business and the innovator to stay in that lane, because it's working. Again, the whole concept, why fix what isn't broken, right? But again, like if you're a creative person and if your whole existence is to innovate and make new things, and again, creative doesn't just, don't get it twisted. Creative does not mean photo, video, graphic design. It means just anybody who's just putting out content in the planet. Like, you know what I mean? Like a the baby or musicians they're the biggest creatives, right? I think they affect culture the most. Yeah, I'm excited to see that happen. I thought it was just an interesting topic to talk about. And we'll wrap it up here. I have a few shoot. Can I go to my archive? I didn't save these. I'm dumb. I have a few viewer questions. And if you want to you want to be more involved in the community, follow me personally on Instagram. There is no hustle culture like Instagram or anything. It's all just through my personal one, and that's really mainly what I post. But yeah, I have some questions here from a few people who are interested in just asking some questions. We'll go over a few of them. But again, if you want to get involved, follow me, and you'll see when I do some solo Q&As and stuff, or maybe some Q&As for a guest. I did that once, and then the episode just ended up not going out because the person, we couldn't record it. I'll do this occasionally, so this is a great way for you to get involved. Somebody said, how small is your pee-pee? Pretty small. They actually said that. It's right here. This is a good question. Gavin asked this. If you had all the money in the world, would you still work? Ooh, dang, that's a good topic. See? This is what I'm talking about. Not how small is your pee-pee. Come on, guys. Be more creative. I think I would. I don't know. So here's the thing about me. I want you guys. This will be the question of the solo podcast day. Comment below. If you had all the money in the world, would you still work? I would like to think. I am such a productivity guy. Like if I don't get something done in a day, at least one thing, like actually follow through with one thing, be it just a proposal for a client, or if I don't just do one thing that's inching me closer to my goal, I feel like it's the worst day for me. It's like just sucks. It's just facts. So for me, in that sense, yes. But as I've gotten older and as I got married and we have a dog and now I own a PS5, I don't know. I don't know if I would still work. If I had all the money in the world, I might, my work might change. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Oh, okay. That's a good answer. I wouldn't do my agency, I don't think. I wouldn't do commercial work. I would do hustle culture, literally 3 episodes a day. Like I would build this up. I'd start a clothing line. I would make a coffee shop. I would work in other avenues that I'm interested in. I wouldn't do what I do right now. I think that's my answer. Let me know what you guys think. I really want to know. I'm really interested. Maybe I'll put out a clip on my Instagram so you guys can let me know on Instagram as well. That was a great question. Let me see. What's your creative outlet outside of hustle culture? And my sister asked that. Andrea. It's a good question. I think this has become my creative outlet. Before it was street photography. That was my creative outlet because I didn't get money off of that, right? It was just building my Instagram. Instagram used to be, but then it got toxic. Like I started relying on those likes and those comments. I'm telling you, there's a whole different story, right? Of like what I went through in that season where I felt like a failure, So street photography was that thing for me that I was like proud of, and that was my creative outlet. Honestly, I think my piano. I have a keyboard right here. Shout out my wife. She got it for Christmas. I've always played piano, but my old one broke and I just threw it away, and I hadn't had one for like about a year and a half. and she got me a new one. I think keyboard, realistically. If I'm talking creative outlet, yeah, like playing the piano, there's something about it. It's just therapeutic and it helps. Like there is so much creativity to that, like messing with different chords and like different progressions. I think that's a huge creative outlet for me. Something I do. I love rapping. I love freestyling in the car when I'm driving. I'll put on like a Drake type beat and I'll just rap. That's another thing. I just love music. Music is like my second thing. Like I feel like down the line I'll do some music, some sort of something in that world. Uh, but music for sure. Um, Somebody else has asked how big is your PP. I appreciate the different, but yeah, like it's not. How do you stay? Let's see. Who's your favorite guest so far and why? Sheesh, you're trying to break relationships here with this question. Um, hmm. I honestly hate all of y'all. No, I'm playing. I'm grateful for everyone who decided to come on because again, this isn't like a Joe Rogan, right? It's not like something you'll come to knowing you'll get exposure. You're anybody who comes on my podcast right now, it's really just you doing me a favor and wanting to be a part of something I'm doing. So I'm grateful for all of my guests for just doing that and just being a part. But if I had to pick one, just strictly off of the conversation that was had, I think it'd probably be a tie between my latest one with Arnold and the Jaron and Morgan. This is a great place to plug this, but the Arnold one was really great. He's another videographer, but he's like a student of life. Like he's super into like history and like that's where we really connect, psychology and learning mindset. Like he's super into that. You know what I mean? Like, meaning of life type stuff. So whenever it comes to that, I love that with him because we got into those topics and we got into that kind of stuff. So if you're into that, if you're into mindset and like we talked about a lot of stuff there regarding, it was all surrounding the creative scene. But Jaron and Morgan was really great because the whole, like a big part of it was how to run a successful business with your significant other. Like how the heck do you do that? I said it multiple. I mean, don't get me wrong. If me and my wife started a business venture, we'd make it work and we would be damn good at it because we complement each other very well. But it's hard, bro. Like it's hard to sometimes, like I always say this, like knowing who's gonna do the dishes tomorrow. Like that's an argument. So how would you even deal with that in a business sense? Like there's so much more to it. So learning there how they do it and how they've learned and how they've the systems they put in place, that was super great conversation. So yeah, if you're into that, that's really great. And they're wedding photographers. So if you're into that as well, you should go check them out because they're amazing. That was a great episode as well. But those two, I would say, based off the conversation, obviously not off the people. Come on, guys. I love everybody. If you get invited to the podcast, it's because I admire you in some sort of way. And again, I said it already, but I'm grateful for everybody who's came. Well, pause. I'm grateful for everybody who's come on the podcast, who's been a guest on the podcast. I'm such a kid. All right, I'll do one more. I'll do two more because I like this one. What do you want your legacy to be? For me, realistically, it used to be I want to build a huge advertising agency and I want it to be the biggest thing ever. Like, Leo Burnett type stuff. I want, like, one of my huge goals when I was really starting the business was to make advertising agencies part of like the mainstream, like the cool, you know what I mean? Like nobody really knows the advertising agency behind, Nike, the people who do that or whatever. Like nobody knows their names of those, but I thought it'd be really cool to tell the story. And that might be an ambition that I have in the future, depending on where it goes. Now with this podcast, I really think my legacy, I just want it to be, somebody who cares about people. I want to be known as a patron of kindness And I just want to be known as somebody who other people can be inspired by, or to just share other people who are inspirational, like I've been doing with the podcast with the guests. I want to be a hub of just kindness and value, if that makes sense. I think that's what I want my legacy to be. When people think of my name, I want that to be, oh man, like this dude really put me on these ideas. I want to just have a lot of ideas on the planet that, I think will benefit it. One of the things I recently talked about, compassion and empathy, how important that is, and how much of the conflict in the world. Imagine if every time you had an argument with somebody or you differed in opinion with somebody else, instead of just how culture has made it out to be now, what if instead of you being like, screw you, you left wing, you alt-right, you Trump supporter, you Black Lives Matter extremist, what if instead we just had compassion for the other person and we understood that they're human just like us, and we had empathy for their fears and their struggles, and like we just, I don't know, we're able to find common ground thanks to those two things. I'm thinking about making a t-shirt. I actually designed it already with that in mind. But things like that, like I just want to be a hub of ideas that come out, and a patron of other people. I want to help other people get bigger, and I want to help other businesses grow. That's a huge thing of mine. That's why I do the advertising agency. I'm super passionate about that. Just helping other people, serving other people. I want people to see me as one of the world's best servants, if that makes sense. And last one. This is cool because I asked y'all to say stuff, and this is my first. Like I said, I forgot that I had put it. So this, I haven't had a chance to think about this. But the last one, since this podcast is based off of the idea that Gary Vee, the hustle culture, this is a great question to end on. Okay, if you could ask Gary Vee one question, what would it be and why? Honestly, it'd be tough because he's so open. Like everything that I would have a question about, like he's publicly said and posted. Every curiosity I have of him would be that. Like I wouldn't be that interested in having a conversation with him just because, he's recorded and publicized so many conversations. Like I feel like I understand his mindset. I feel like I know him. That's the beauty of the internet and being able to do what he's in, like his concept of content and just putting out as much as you can. That's the beauty of it. Like most of his fans feel this way. Like I'd be much more interested in like, talking to Elon Musk, someone who's more secretive about stuff, like having dinner with them, or someone like, George Washington, like, Abraham Lincoln, like people who mattered, in the past, who didn't have the internet. But if I were to ask Gary Vee one question, Sorry, this is hard. It's a hard question. Because again, I just wouldn't know. I don't know what I would ask. Like, I feel like if I ever met him, I wouldn't even like ask questions. I would just like want to have like locker room talk, like just talk about random crap. Because he's just like a cool dude. I guess it would be, from a mentor standpoint, it'd be like, yo, Gary, Mr. V. That's so weird. Mr. V. How do you get through the middle? And let me explain that. Like I had said earlier, the Call of Duty reference, as you level up in whatever industry you're in, it takes a lot longer to see progress, right? To get to that next milestone. Because in the beginning, you're super excited and passionate, and like every little win is important because it leads to another one. It's harder to get little wins when you've already had big ones. if that makes sense. So what I would ask him is, how do you get past through that middle part to grow and to get to the $1 million, to get to the, billion, to get to there? Like, how do you get past the benchmark where you're under 100K, but you're still like, I'm in a place where, me personally, bills are taken care of. I'm living. I've met my success. I do what I love full time. I'm building something on the side that fulfills me, like this. So how do I, cause I think my downfall is because I've gotten there, I've gotten a little bit complacent. Like, I know I could work more than I actually do. And I feel like I know the answer, but I want to hear it from him because he's such a hustler and a grinder. But again, when I don't have the goal ahead of me, like, you can set monetary goals, right? It's easy. Like, I'm going to make 10K this month. Like, you can do that and chase that, but that feels unfulfilling. Like, I would want to know what is the thing that gets you past the middle, I guess. That'd be a good question. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. I want you guys to answer that question for me. I forgot what that I said the question of the day was. Oh, if you had all the money in the world, would you still work? I'm curious to know how many, like, because that's a great question. It's kind of like, if you get the lottery, what would you do? But like in a cooler, different way. I want to know if you listening or watching on YouTube, if you had all the money in the world, you're like Jeff Bezos times 20, what would you do? Like, would you still work? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in my Instagram, even if you want to DM me. But yeah, I feel I really enjoyed doing this. I thought I was going to be way more nervous. When I started the YouTube channel, I was going to do like a split thing where I did informative videos, which you can go check out, about 6 content creation ideas. I think I provided a lot of value in that. But I felt weird in front of the camera without someone else. So I thought the podcast would be the same. But nah, this laid back feel, sipping on coffee with you guys while you guys do whatever the heck you're doing. If you're sipping on coffee right now with me, again, I actually want to know in the comments, like, what's your favorite coffee or your style, preparation method? I love coffee. Maybe I'll have a coffee show later. But it's been fun. It's been relaxed. I feel like the informative videos, it was such a thing that I had to like inform the audience on like a topic that is like super professional, that like I felt like anxious to do it. But with this, it was just a conversation. I hope you got something out of my story, my come up. And I think we initiated some fun conversation. I think I liked it. I enjoyed doing this. I hope you enjoyed it too. If you did, now that it's done, now that you've listened to the whole thing, if you haven't subscribed or followed on Instagram or on Spotify, if you enjoyed this talk, if you hated it, I encourage you to check out another one. If you hated it, you're not here. So why am I talking to you? Get out of here. I encourage you, go check out the past ones where I had conversations with other people. Those are fun too. But if you like this format, let me know in the comments if you liked the way this works. Me just being able to talk for like over a span of time. Again, I'm going to be completely honest. I'm going to do it anyways, all right? I like these solo episodes. And it's just more relaxing. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. But let me know. I want to hear your thoughts. And again, if you did enjoy it and you haven't subscribed, bruh, I hate it because like I used to be this guy, and I stopped being this guy because I knew how annoying it was for me. But if you've been watching my videos, hold on. If you've been watching my videos, all right, all of them, over here soaking up all my knowledge, learning, growing, and you haven't subscribed yet, I'm very disappointed in you. And I know you haven't subscribed because let me go to my YouTube. Hold on. I know I said we were done, but I got something to talk about. Engagement or reach. Hold on, where is this thing? I'm new to YouTube, bro. Hold on. I'm going to find it. Audience. Watch time from subscribers. 87% of y'all aren't subscribed. Why? Just subscribe, all right? I know you got some value. At least a little bit, you know what I mean? It takes 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, right? Not even. Like half a second, realistically. I'm just playing with y'all. I'm not actually mad. 12% of y'all who are subscribed and watching my stuff, I appreciate you. But really, if you're not subscribed and you've been watching it and you've been kind of glimpsing in and out and like just clicking in and out, go ahead and click subscribe, man. I know that the YouTube algorithm is recommending you because you've already watched some of my stuff, but even like on a non-biased level for me as a YouTube consumer, I hate when I think I'm subscribed to somebody and I'm actually not. So like their stuff keeps popping up and I love and I watch it, but then I'm not subscribed. Like Adam Ross, he's like a Twitch streamer. I watch all his clips, like most of them, because they're funny. And the other day I checked and I saw I wasn't subscribed, but I kept seeing his videos. I felt so bad, and so I clicked subscribe. If you're a super fan and you actually want to be like one of the first to see it, go ahead and click the post notification bell. It's like right next to the subscribe button, and then you could do like, I think it has little terms, so you don't have to like do all of the notifications. You can just do when I post. That way, in case the subscription just doesn't work, or in case you're just not on YouTube all that often and you want to get a notification specifically for me as well as other YouTubers that you like, you could do that. And that way you can tune into the Hustle Culture podcast. As we put clips out and we put more content out on YouTube, this is going to be our main hub. I know Instagram, I've been posting clips and reels and all that stuff, but YouTube is going to be our thing. So go ahead, go subscribe. If you're a Spotify listener, I know I don't have that many, but if you are by any chance, go to YouTube. Go check out the video side of it. I put a lot of work in the animation and stuff. I think you'll enjoy it. I think it'll be a fun experience. But yeah, that's been it. I hope you guys got some value out of this again, and I am deeply appreciative of every listener, every viewer, every sharer. If you've been sharing my stuff, thank you so much. And I will see you guys next week. Really quick, little announcement. We're going to be moving into a new place. In fact, that's why I did the solo episode here. Ran into some trouble with my old office that I work out of. Just not the best people, all right? They were weird. They told me I could use the conference rooms to do the podcast. That's why we did it, the first few episodes in there. Then they said I couldn't. I had to pay for it, even though I already had a membership. Then they said I can use a co-working space, like the common area. Use the common area for a few episodes. And they said, nope, you can't do it. So now we are moving into another location, which I'm not going to say yet. I want to wait until we're there and the set is built. But it's going to be cool. It's going to be a permanent place where I can go and I film with my guests. When I do the solo episodes, I'll probably do them here just because I like the vibe. I like being at home. I like sipping on some coffee and my, shout out to my sister. She gave me this mug. I think it's a cool vibe. It's a different thing, so it won't feel like they'll feel like separate thing. I don't know why I'm explaining this to you. But yeah, we're getting a new location. Very good friend and person that I've worked with and I continuously work with offered up the space, and it's going to be great. I can't wait to like show you guys the actual what it's going to be like. But that's happening. Another thing that's happening, I'm going to announce it right here. And again, I'm only putting it on the what's it called? On the last end, on the deep end, on the far end. That's the word. On the far end of the podcast, because I know that the real fans will be here. I am gonna do. We're working on Hustle Culture T-shirts. It's gonna be dope. It's not gonna be your like $5 T-shirt. No, it's gonna be a decent. Don't get me wrong. They're gonna be crazy. They're not gonna be super expensive, but they're gonna be really good quality. I'm working with Jabril. If you know Jabril, he was on the podcast Streetwear Guy. The whole. I'm not gonna show you all the design yet because I want to make sure that the plan goes through. But the whole concept of this thing is that it's super minimal in the front. So if you're a business dude and you want to wear a casual, blazer look, you know what I mean, with the T-shirt, it's black, T-shirt and jeans or slacks or whatever you can. But then the back is like, one of those like full back art kind of things. It's basically just the logo. It's not like added art to it, but it's like a bigger piece in the back. So it has that streetwear vibe to it. So if you want to go crazy and look cool in the streets in your coffee shop, it'll be for that too. So that's the concept. I'm excited to show you guys the designs, and that's gonna have its separate Instagram because we're gonna build that up to be something different. Any t-shirt designs I make are gonna go in there because they're all gonna be tied to hustle culture in some way. So I'm excited about that. It's gonna be fun. You can expect it, if the plan goes through the way we're doing it, late June, early July. Wow, it's about to be June. Dang. But yeah, so I'm excited about that, those little announcements. But I'll let you guys go. I'm sure it's not that long. But yeah, I'll let you guys know. I said it was gonna be less than an hour, more than an hour. My bad. But love you guys. Thank you. Y'all have a great day.